Welcome back to the Player Experience stream. I'm Daniel Sifa Dracos, joined now by Indiana FLICKR and Black, and our special guest Gate to help break down the support matchup between Likkrit and GorillA. Now, I'm really excited about this, but Frosco, we've talked a lot about Albus Noxluna's support. Likkrit is a legitimate threat. He does so much damage.
Yeah, he does the most damage of any support at the tournament. That's really easy to talk about. But the number one thing that I really want to underline is that in a game where his mid laner is playing Anivia, one of those champions really well known for her sustained damage, he did only 300 less damage than his mid laner on Anivia on that brand support. I know, Gate, you've had a look at his runes, and he does quite some interesting things.
For his mage supports, he tends to go like all magic pen, which is fairly normal, but even things like Tom Kench, he goes like all scaling stuff, which is like just the opposite of what other supports do in this tournament so far.
Yeah, so if you guys want to run brand support like Likkrit runs brand support, literally only run penetration in every single category except for your seals, in which he runs flat armor, I believe.
I think it's HP.
It is HP,
Yep.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but if you're ever queuing with me, please don't do that.
What? He's winning all of his games. If he can do it at World Sifa, why can't we do it in solo queue?
Correlation, causation, 100%. Likkrit wins, so can you. Pick brand. It's cool. Balanced champion. Really fun to play against, too, as a laner, I could say that. Level 2, level 3, not at all terrifying, but guys, we are getting geared up to get into Champion Select here to figure out how long it'll take Rox Tigers to ban brand. I think it'll be their first ban, but we're really going to see.
I mean, you say that, but if you go back to the CLG game that Rox Tigers dropped, I mean, a lot of people are using the word kind of like disrespect, but you look at it, it's, they gave away the Aurelion Sol, they gave away the Caitlyn, and they gave away the Nidalee. So it's not like Rox Tigers haven't already shown that they will give away really powerful picks simply because they think that they can deal with them. So while I agree with you, it's really easy to point at Albus Nox and be like, oh, just ban brand, don't let him have it. A lot of teams, Rox Tigers included as well as G2, have given that away and kind of bit the bullet for it.
Yeah, definitely not quite what we want to see giving away those power picks. I do believe that Rox did ban it last time they played, however, so they weren't quite as aggressive in their decision-making as CLG were. Oddly, though, CLG, of course, not getting the Aurelion Sol banned against them. It's been a weird state for picks and bans, but I want to look at the opposite side on the bottom lane. I want to talk a little bit about GorillA here. Likkrit, very clear. He does damage. He does lots of damage. Let's talk a little bit about what GorillA brings to the table as a support.
Personally, from what I've seen for his Worlds play so far, he's like the most stable playmaker in the whole tournament. We saw earlier his Alistar game was fairly good. And just generally, I think as a support, you can't ask too much more out of him. He does the lane phase well. He does out of lane phase well. He moves around the map pretty well to like sum all of that up.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on that last point that you brought up, Gate, this idea that GorillA moves around the map a lot, something that's really interesting and unique that both Likkrit and GorillA share is their time spent in the proximity to their AD carry. So Likkrit spends the most amount of time away from his AD carry, and GorillA is actually relatively high up there as well and relative to other world supports. So they definitely roam around a lot. They're big playmakers for both of their teams. The interesting thing, though, is that GorillA spends more time closer to Peanut, whereas Likkrit, he actually doesn't have a very high jungle proximity. He's just wandering by himself.
Well, we've seen the effectiveness of that in some of those games. We'll have to see if it counts against him this time around. It is interesting. It's curious to see because that's very traditional that we see the supports and jungle roam around together, getting that vision down together, working together to kind of force those ganks. We're going to have to keep an eye on, and you should too at home, what is Likkrit actually doing when he leaves that lane?
Oh, I think he summed it up perfectly in the CLG game. He's running mid, he's throwing down the bard ultimate, he's getting in the tunnel, he's in your face.
I mean, he's just a terrifying guy to play against. Of course, for those of you who haven't watched this guy a ton in the International Wildcard qualifiers, I mean, the Bard was terrifying. People had to ban that away from him. The Brand was a new pick that he had been bringing out that always has to get banned away from him. And he just comes from a region where every single support is looking to kill people, is looking to make plays. It's a very different meta from a lot of the other regions.
It just speaks to his performance, the fact that he's facing across from such an incredible talent like GorillA, and we're sitting up here and just throwing these numbers, just hyping up Likkrit. That pretty much tells the story itself for Albus Nox at this current tournament. Because GorillA, on the other side, phenomenal support. One of the best in the world, probably at least top 2, top 3 in his position.
And we've talked a lot about our predictions. Gate, would you ever have predicted, or did you predict Albus Noxluna to make it this far in the tournament?
Definitely not. I mean, they're at the top of their group so far, right? And just being in this position as a wildcard team, you kind of already like made your mark already. So just going one step further and like finalizing this last game against Rox, that would just end up showing a lot for their region as a whole.
Gate, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit. Is there anything that you really attribute Albus Nox's success to? Like, you can point and say that's why they're doing so well at this tournament?
They're really fearless. I mean, generally, when you play at this high level, you're gameplay like has a rhythm, and like it's easy to expect what to see from the other team as well. But when it comes to Albus Nox, they make you think that your play is maybe not correct, even as a high-level team from what I've seen. And just talking about supports in general, Likkrit just puts in as much work as he possibly could from the support position.
So do you think that there's an inherent advantage that they took coming in as, the wild card region?
Yeah, I think there's an advantage in that, and just generally, I mean, when you're an experienced team, you tend to play with a lot of confidence, but even though they're not so much of an experienced team, they're playing with all the confidence they have. So that's definitely one of the attributes they have that's putting them so far in the group stage.
Yeah, and we look back on this team, they have played together for a long time, formerly under the roster as Hard Random, did change to Albus Nox Luna, retain the same amount of players, and I mean, even for the more experienced teams, we so often see these stage jitters, this fear that comes out on stage, sudden changes in performance level. I think, honestly, Albus Nox are one of the few teams that we've seen get better on the world stage, whereas everyone else seems to have at least one player that seems to be struggling to keep up with either their playoffs or their regular season performance.
Yeah, undoubtedly across the board, everyone has stepped up in their individual performances. And it's funny, too, because they commented that they didn't have scrims going into this world tournament, that they were actually playing, some other games and maybe...
Literally playing WoW.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were...
Yeah, I don't know if we're allowed to either, but there's actual tweets that
WoW.
said, like, lol, we didn't even scrim at all. We were playing WoW the entire time, which is, I'm sure plenty of people enjoyed the game, but these are professionals. And while we can criticize their work ethic there, we cannot criticize their game results. These guys are absolutely killing it.
But something that they were really well known for in the IWC qualifier was their ability to 5v5 and team fight. They were the team fighting team, and we can see that countless times. Their synergy, their execution, their cooldown management in these big 5v5s is up there, top %, and that's why they've been taking down so many of these elite teams on a world stage.
Absolutely. Brand Ban coming in, Sivir and Rumble to follow. Guys, I just want to remind you, if you have a support-related question or anything about the current meta or standing, head on over to Twitter, tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag AskTheCasters. Have your question answered in-game. FLICKR and Gate, they've got analysis. It's here for you. Just ask for it. We'll give it to you. But Bard and Brand taken off the board. 2 support bans immediately going to Likkrit.
And on that other side, like you said, Rumble and Kennen. So it's very easy to see where the 2 top members on these teams are. You got Likkrit in the bot lane, you got Smeb in the top lane, and we don't want either of them.
The triple Likkrit ban.
Wow.
I think with these 3 bans, they really just want to see what else Likkrit has in his bag of tricks. 3 support bans. That really just shows you how much respect they're giving him.
3 support bans and then immediately a support in first rotation on red. Like, it's not super uncommon for red side, but I just think it's so funny. It's like ban all of the playmaking supports and then immediately grab Alistar, put him on something like Nami.
I wonder if I wonder how deep this champion pool goes, because we've seen Likkrit be banned out before, but there was always something else that he could play. But the big question is going to be what? Zyra, very popular in the region. We'll have to see if he wants to pick it up here. But interestingly enough, so many power picks have now been left on the board with all these support bans being taken away. ANX have their hands on the Nidalee, but on the opposite side, Rocks pick up that Syndra, and that's pretty terrifying to play against.
And Gate, you and I were having a conversation upstairs kind of to keep this discussion geared on kind of the supports about, the resurgence of Alistar, especially in comparison to Nami. And I just wanted to get your thoughts for that on broadcast for the viewers.
So generally, we've seen a lot of like range supports or things that are dominant in lane show up in week 1, and as the world's meta shift, I think things that are super lane dominant, just like Nami, outside of the lane, they're not super strong when compared to stuff like Alistar or Braum. So I think as you see teams get better at lane phase throughout the whole tournament, you're gonna see more melee supports being picked in general.
And it's just a result of teams figuring each other out, kind of getting those jitters out, knowing that they can go behind a little bit in lane. Like, why is this happening that we see it now?
Well, it's also the clash of the inherent style differences, like the fact that the LPL teams came in, and the LPL teams for the longest time have still been playing the melee supports. They never really moved to the range supports that were far more popular in EU and North America. But Gate?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think generally when teams aren't too sure of what their opponents will pick, they'll just mainly pick for lane or counter pick. Then moving on to see like, if I pick this range support and seems like, well, just end up breaking even or not having a huge lead to push with our jungler, it's much easier to just make a playmaking support and then try to take over the game through like calculated plays.
Well, speaking of playmaking, we're going to have to see what Likkrit goes. We've got a few seconds left. There's a Poppy, there's a Vladimir, there's a Lucian, a Nidalee. A lot of power here on the bottom side of the map. And That's going to be it. Tarek coming out for Likkrit. I think this is the first Tarek of Worlds as well.
So things are about to get really fabulous right now. What I really love about Tarek, in particular for Albus Nox Luna, we've just hyped up their team fighting, is the coordination that this champion can bring to team fights specifically when you're playing aggressive, when you're playing forward, and when you're diving. So Tarek doesn't work very well as an anti-dive tool. He has that capability, but it's really hard because of the delay on his invulnerability on that ultimate. He works so much better when you are making those proactive moves and saying, we're about to dive, throw the Tarek ultimate on, and we're going in.
We've seen this pairing a lot, especially in North America when Tarek was fairly popular. Vlad and Tarek, like, if you just want to go forward with those champions, it's really easy to make any dive play happen. I think that's what ANX are going for here. They also have something like Poppy to back them up, and they have like a self-sufficient AD carrying Lucian for that too.
And on the other side of that, if Albus Nox are going all for this dive potential, there is a lot of anti-dive threat, or at least a lot of clear on the side of Rox Tigers. You diving a Syndra is always going to be incredibly terrifying because she has that multiplude, or wow.
Multiplude?
Yeah, we're just inventing words.
She makes a bunch of balls and she throws them
She
at
just
people.
has like a really wide cone of stun, as well as the Trundle Pillar and the Alistair there. So it is still very difficult to execute a dive despite all of the tools that Albus Nox have on their composition.
Of course, we'll have to see how exactly the cone of stun is used there by Koro. But once again, just a reminder, head on over to Twitter, use the hashtag #AskTheCasters. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We can guide the discussion based around what you guys want to hear. But a lot of it is going to have to be fabulous because Likkrit has picked up that Tarek on the bottom side, and I'm really curious to see if he's going to be able to execute. We thought this pick was super, or I at least was very impressed by this pick in Europe, and then it just disappeared completely from the World's meta.
It was played in Korea. It was only played twice in the LPL. What I actually love most about the Tarek pick for Likkrit in particular is that it's probably the only champion that has just as luscious locks as Likkrit does in person.
Maybe that's why he prefers the skin to really just
make it extra fabulous
just flowing
just for
mane of
Likkrit.
hair.
Throwing out a little bit of the team spirit right there as both teams seem to be setting up. Pretty standard level 1, just covering their vision entrances. Now looking at the early laning phase, Gate, I want to get your opinion. Lucian we know to be a pretty strong lane bully, but Caitlyn does have that lane advantage, or that range advantage. Who takes the lane here overall early game?
Generally, this if nothing crazy happens level 1, you'll see the team that has like a stronger AD matchup. In this case, I would say Rox would have the stronger AD matchup. They'll take over the lane, especially in the early parts if there's a double melee. Being melee supports for both of them, they really don't have too many opportunities to impact the lane. They're just going to be, using their Targon stacks. So you're really going to just see the ADs contest each other for the creeps.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking on what Gate is saying, what's so important right now for the bot lanes is the control of the creep wave. And like you said, Caitlyn's able to get that really well because she has her her Q, what is it, Piltover Peacemaker? So she's able to hit that back line immediately. What I wanted to point out was the vision that Rox have already set. It's really important to get that ward down into the bottom of the lane, just so you can make sure that you can take these camps safely, and you can see if anyone's preparing something, like if they're trying to sneak into the lane and Afrika you level 1 where they just try to chunk you out immediately, or more importantly, grab that creep wave aggro as it comes in and start to focus fire those creeps down. But it seems to be a gentleman's agreement in this scenario where everyone's going to take their Krugs and take their Gromp.
Yeah, they did similar scouting for each other level 1, so it seems like they really can't push an advantage in the brush, so they're just going to trade the camps. And I think this actually favors ANX a bit. Just their duo does the camp a little faster. And you see Caitlyn's just contesting this wave very evenly from the level 1.
Level 2 starting up right off the bat, but Likkrit taking a lot of poke from that early Piltover. Prey, as you mentioned, just pretty unafraid to play forward, making sure to use that headshot to zone on.
And we've talked a lot about, GorillA looking across from Likkrit. Obviously, it's the support-focused stream because we have the lovely Gate here. But you do also have to take into account their partners in crime standing next to them, Prey versus Miracle. And just for context, Prey is doing 28% or about 30% of his team's damage share. The tournament average is around 25%, so he's over tournament average. And in comparison to Miracle, he only does 16% of his team's damage share. So while Likkrit is definitely boosting his numbers and affecting that, Prey is standing up head and shoulders above a Miracle.
Yeah, Likkrit's taking all his damage, what can I say? He's playing all the brand.
And it's unfortunate because when you look back on the game versus CLG for ANX earlier today, Miracle was very behind in lane. And I'm curious, Gate, what your opinion? If they start to fall behind in lane, is Likkrit kind of just forced to sit here with the Miracle instead of playing that roam-heavy style that he likes?
Yeah, that's one of the big disadvantages of just losing your matchup in the 2v2. As a support, you really just don't have as many opportunities as you would have had if your lane was even or if you were ahead. So if you're like a playmaker like Likkrit for your team, you really hope that you can get a good matchup here.
In fact, speaking of playmaker, we actually are having a scenario where because Prey and GorillA have control of the wave, again, it's really important that you get control of these creep waves so you can create a pressure point, keep someone hold down. It actually creates space for Peanut, and you can see Peanut on your minimap is already taking advantage of Prey and GorillA's positioning of the wave, invading and contesting Stejos.
Yeah, we see GorillA had a lot of free time just because of the ADC advantage, and he had a lot of options too. He could have just moved in the jungle with Peanut and try to look for Stejos, or just put some vision down so his lanes feel safer. Overall, I think that's just the advantage in the Caitlyn pick for now.
Interesting. I want to hit on one of these Twitter questions. Oh, unless we're going to see some trading. No, it looks like a little bit of backing off. I want to hit a question coming in for Query. Apologies if I butchered your
Good try.
name. I made an effort. Why is Alistar so commonly seen in draft, but Leona is never picked? Gate, why don't you hit this one first?
I think Alistar is just more reliable. Like, the W is just a point and click, and the knockup is a knockup, and you can't really... It's just very impactful when it hits. Leona is, like, when you hit all her abilities, is equally as impactful, but Alistar just does it much more consistently, and his ultimate's, like, pretty... It makes his team fighting really strong and skirmishing with him very easy. So, on top of that, he also has his E for lane sustain against bad matchups. So, all in all, Alistar's like way more well-rounded than Leona.
It's really this conversation, the difference between kind of a viable versus like the meta pick.
Yep.
So there's a lot of champions that will fulfill the same duties as we see a kill go down in mid lane.
First blood for ANX, that's pretty big, but let's refocus discussion now on the Leona.
Yeah, it's just simply that Alistar just does things a little bit better, is a bit more well-rounded than Leona.
Interesting now, as you see the trading back and forth. Big for Albus Nox to have first blood in that mid lane. PvP Stejos, definitely showing up so far in the jungle matchup despite Peanut's early aggression here.
They're both, they saw the action go down mid, so you see Rocks, they're playing pretty aggressively under their tower, and they got a lot of damage on Likkrit. At this point, you kind of just, if you're A and X, you have to hope that your jungler is able to assist you later on in the game. Right now, they're just kind of in a bad position because they can't control their way very well.
Yeah, and you can see already a CS differential coming in for the Lucian. About 10 creeps down, only 6 minutes into the game. Not at all where he wants to be. Now, we talk so much about the Caitlyn power trough. Can Lucian afford to fall behind like this in the early game? Is there any point where he can come back just based off of differences in character?
Hold on a second.
May see the gank coming in. Nice flash out there in the end. Lee Sin Kick gonna go wide. Nope, doesn't connect.
You see GorillA comboed that perfectly, but I think Prey was a little late to his trap. I think that would definitely have been maybe a kill, actually. I'm not too sure, but I think it would have been a lot cleaner if Prey comboed that better.
Rinse and repeat in the mid lane there. We're trying to keep a bot lane focus, but there's just so much action in the mid lane. And Brox, they make a good gank attempt, successful gank, we can even say, getting all those summoners, but you can hear the crowd cheering. ANX.
ANX hype.
Yeah, they definitely have the sixth man of the crowd behind them, kind of redirecting back to that conversation that you had in terms of power troughs for the AD carries or power spikes. So obviously everyone's very well versed in Lucian and his mid-game power spike just because he has the advantage of going that 2-item build through the Ghost Blade versus Caitlyn, who it got a little bit better. Caitlyn's big issue is that she kind of fell into this mid-game power trough because she was so reliant on having 3 items simply because she doesn't have a built-in steroid like other AD carries. So there are definitely windows where NX's 2v2 can spike up, but usually at that point when you're at 2 items into 3 items, if you're Caitlyn's case, it's more about the 5v5 rather than continuing to elongate your lane phase. So while I understand your question of like, can Lucian do anything to punish that, there's going to be a point where Lucian is strong and Caitlyn's kind of just like hanging back for a couple thousand more gold. It's really at that point of the game where, you know, the Vladimir is more of an impact here because we should be grouped up anyway.
Interesting.
We're going to see, they're both going to end up basing here, and I think if anything, right now would be a good time to see if anything will happen from ANX's bot. Lucian's going to pick up another item, and with that item, he should have enough damage to maybe threaten the ADC.
Oh, there's an aggressive engage there. It looks like Likkrit may be in trouble. They're trying to punish that roam. Double stun comes out. Kuro on the way down. Heals go up. Likkrit
he really should be careful because, as they know, the Rock's bot duo got to base first, so GorillA's on the map way before him. And also his ADC just went home, so there's no way it's safe to clear that ward.
See, Gate uses the word he should be more careful. I'm just going to say that that was straight bad from Likkrit. There was no reason to be there. Again, we talked about how Likkrit, even though he doesn't have close proximity with his AD carry, he has actually very low proximity with his jungler. So he doesn't actually roam together with his jungler to invade safely and place that vision down or try to remove vision safely. But just kind of a head tilter there.
All of that also comes from just Caitlyn and Alistar being able to push in the wave and back first because it seems like he thought he could clear the wave because he thought the Caitlyn would just go back to lane, which she was doing, but he didn't really think about the other players in the game.
Action on the top side. You see on your picture-in-picture. Smeb's going to walk on out of that one, but continuing to apply pressure for PvP Steos. Interestingly enough, not on the bottom side. Do you think that there is more value in Nidalee applying pressure to help out this bottom lane, or should they just accept that it's kind of a lost cause at this point?
They could go for something, but they burned summoners from the last gank. It's a little hard to set up on this lane, honestly, because the Caitlyn's always going to keep her range, and Alistar is just generally a hard champion to kill. I think it's smart what PvP Steos is doing so far.
Likewise, you're also trying to punish the summoners that you had burnt from Kuro, which is why you had repeated back-to-back ganks in that mid lane. His flash is just about to come back up, but Steos just sees, you know, opportunity elsewhere on the map, and Taric and Lucian are sitting pretty fine down here. I mean, at a CS deficit, but nothing major.
Yeah, I'm sure they expected this coming into this matchup. I think when they picked the Taric, they picked it to kind of round out what they were missing from the lane. They knew they had a losing ADC matchup, but they don't want to have too much of a deficit from support. Taric can still provide some shielding and healing, even though he is also like a melee support. And I think they're just banking on later in the game once team fights come. We've talked about how like strong ANX have been so far in team fight and team play in general. So they're mostly picking for team and not for just the lane matchup.
Yeah, and in that same vein, I mean, you have the Taric there. He's empowering the dive, and what is the primary dive champion on that team? It's going to be Poppy and Vladimir. So it makes sense that they're trying to get those two assets ahead because they're the primary benefactors of having that Taric pick in the first place.
Interesting. Keeping our focus on Taric, I've gotten the question from Twitter. Jason Woolham asks, what does Taric normally build in most matchup as a first item after Sightstone? What do you think is the most major purchase here, Kate?
Generally, supports tend to fall into a pattern of just building the Locket first because it provides the most team like utility. Sometimes against like all the AD comp, you'll see like Glacial Shroud or something like that, but that's like generally not the case. You just want to get as many like aura items as possible.
What is the language that I'm allowed to use with Locket? Can I just say it's broken?
You can say it's broken.
It is absolutely broken as an item. So every item has, every stat in this game has a gold value associated with it. So every item has a gold value associated with it, not just its costs, but when we say things are cost effective, it's simply because the stats that they give you are worth more than the actual cost of the item. And Locket, if you are standing next to more than one person, so just the item itself and your partner next to you, is infinitely more cost efficient than the gold that you're spending. It sounds like it should just be that big 5v5 item, but simply getting the bonuses that you do from standing next to your duo partner make it the most effective and the most broken support item in the game, terms of the gold spent.
Yeah, I think when I played on stage this season, I bought Locket every single game I played support, so there's not too many games where you just diverge off the track. If we're just talking about Taric and like what items synergize with this kit, well, things that like give you CDR and mana are pretty good for you, so something like Frozen Heart or like the Iceborne Gauntlet, I see some people doing solo queue, so just those items if you really want to like augment your own character.
And so many people forget kind of the unique passive on the Ruby Sightstone of decreasing the time of those active items spent, so also works really well in giving you the health as well as making sure that you have more actives of your Locket to go off of. So typically we'll see Taric bounce between Locket and then upgraded Ruby Sightstone.
Yeah. Typically, but this time we're seeing Ninja Tabby come out.
It is Likkrit.
It is Likkrit. Looks like an engage coming in here. Peanut. Keep our eyes on the Lee Sin, but Rock's just suddenly shifting their attention topside, and Likkrit now on the way up as well. We could have a support battle. Looks like we could have a big fight here.
It seems like they have some free time. GorillA's roam was actually kind of strange. He uses spells incorrectly, but it seems like there's not much to come of this. It's just going to turn into defense.
Interesting case. 80 carries continue to farm on the bot side. GorillA making the first proactive move on the map, or the second if we encounter that first death from Likkrit.
I mean, if they had caught anyone there, it would have been the first tower gold, so I can understand why Rox would try to go all in. They had multiple waves pushing in, so they had the opportunity where they could slip into Fog of War and try to make a big play happen. But ultimately, they don't lose much there, evening up a bit of the CS between their lanes and maybe losing a few creeps worth of gold, but that's about it.
Additionally, setting up a little bit of vision, you saw GorillA place a few wards on his way back to the bottom side, and this could be disastrous for a Miracle if they're not careful.
This time, Likkrit's positioning is actually a little strange. They can force this bot dive at any time, so really a Miracle needs Likkrit next to him at all times when the Alistar is going to be down there.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was interesting that GorillA didn't pull the trigger on that. I think he was maybe just being a bit cautious simply because he doesn't have his Flash Summoner available, but he did have his ultimate.
Interesting as we look on the top side. Once again, another fight breaking out. This time it's Smeb, and it's a dog pile as Kira's going to pick up another kill. We, of course, are the support-focused stream, but right now it is the story of the jungler and the mid laner here as Kira and PvP Steos kind of pick up some of the slack that Likkrit has been left with.
He's going for more, and they can dive.
Oh, Kuro stun. Damage coming in. Here comes the ultimate as well.
Oh, what a combo. This is what I was talking about earlier.
Oh, but Kuro's still alive. Not for long.
There's no damage to go around here. Maybe if Lisa can get in there.
And that is what it's all about.
Oh, brings it back to the tower. Kira throwing down a bit more damage. Does the train keep rolling? Poppy is on the way. Albus Nox, are you ever going to stop? There is so much bloodlust on this team.
I think
it does stop. That's it. We're done.
It's fizzled out. I just want to remind everyone, that was 3 targeted bans at Likkrit. He comes out with the first Taric of Worlds and then executes the dive beautifully. We said that that was what their composition was about. That is how it's executed. And Likkrit, you know, you can't ban him out. They threw 3 bans at him, the #1 seed from Korea, and he's still just like, no problem.
He's 0-2 going into that. It's not like he was really strong as a support or anything. That's just a combo we were talking about. You just dive the tower with Vlad. There's so much invulnerability. There's very little risk when it comes to that. So they end up pulling a kill from what was kind of a weird situation because you saw a lot like Rox always had the control of the lane. So like if anything happened on the map, Prey and GorillA always started moving to it before ANX's duo. And with that in mind, it's really hard to make a play as ANX, but they found a way in through the mid lane.
Now backing off the lane. It's reset to normal for now, but you can see Miracle has made up a lot of the CS differential, only down by 5. And I want to hit one more Twitter question while we have the chance. Matthew Walker asks, oh, he asked earlier about jungle. Thanks for asking about support, too. As a support main in solo queue, is it better to play a flashy playmaking support or one of those more defensive, disengage healing supports?
For this one, I definitely think it's better to play the flashier ones. If you're playing with someone you really trust, like a jungler player or another AD carry main, I think it's also good to play the disengage and healing supports. It kind of really just, it depends what you're good at too. Honestly, some people are much better at the healing disengage type supports and some people are better at the other. So I think whatever fits your personal playstyle the best, but personally for me, I like to go for the flashier supports.
It pretty much comes down to do I trust in myself or do I trust in my allies there. If you're going to play someone defensive like Nami, Soraka, Sona, Janna, you're empowering your teammates versus playing the Taric or the Alistar or the Bard. You're saying, you know, I've got the big stick now.
Scary place to be. I play a decent amount with Frostguard, and she always picks the big stick. She likes to make the big plays.
I'm an Alistar main.
GorillA trying to make his way out of this one. A little bit of damage going down. Tower still going to fall, and that's first bricks over to Albus Nox Luna. That's about a 2.5K gold lead already.
I think that says something more about you, Sifa, though, that, you know, I'm like, duo with Sifa, time to play the carry support.
I play the carry support when we duo too, champ. I've seen you tilt off the face of the planet after missing one CS.
Speaking of tilt, here we go.
Oh, they're making a DP
good
play.
disengage.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Smart of him to cancel that. There wasn't anything that was going to come out of his TP. Seems like now it's kind of awkward situation for Rox. They're on the back foot now.
Oh, backing off.
Yeah, they've been locked out of the mid lane, so Albus Nox have the, I always want to call them hard random, have the inside track towards mid. Although GorillA, see if we can get a multi-man pulverize.
You're trying to get in there. Stun goes down. Ball's coming out. Trying to get it on multiple members here.
I think GorillA just might die here.
Likkrit now knocked into the tower. Is going to get knocked up. Should be burned down here.
Oh my god.
Solid team fighting coming in, playing so well around that Taric ultimate.
Oh wow. That was really surprising because I think ANX played fairly well around the Alistar coming in. And then what ended up happening was just Likkrit was just ended up in front of the Alistar and got headbutted back into the enemy team. And somehow GorillA escaped all that with his flash as well. So I think that's just Rox playing the team fight a little better than ANX.
Yeah, I completely agree. When the initial Alistar came in, you could tell that he wanted the multi-man pulverize, but didn't find it and had to burn his ultimate defensively simply because he had spent so much time eating so much damage in CC, looking for the right team fight.
It's looking like maybe a rinse and repeat here, but GorillA says no. Stejos burns down. I mean, what a flank from GorillA.
Well, he's got 3 pink wards set up on top of him, so it's just a total blindside.
That's a freebie for him, yeah.
Exactly. And we talk about how Likkrit has these incredible damage stats, but what we don't talk about is he actually has the worst warding stats of any support at Worlds. He does not place a lot of wards. They're one of the lowest warding teams, so makes sense that they'd be caught off guard. And here's what we're talking about. GorillA is wandering through this team fight for so long, looking for that pulverize, that he just eats up so much damage and immediately has to disengage. Luckily for him, he does it through a W.
Likkrit actually just got a little too crazy. I think he popped the Taric ulti and he thought he was on top of the world. He's like, guys, look at me, I'm invincible. Ended up just standing in front of GorillA and got headbutted back. And you can't live through a full team after your ult, so ended up being just his own death.
Words of wisdom. You can't live through a whole team after your ult.
Have to see if that one holds up.
It didn't hold up for Xmithy last game. He was like, 1v5, let's go.
Definitely. I think those were Nori's exact words. Graves, free to 1v5. Tarek, unfortunately,
Maybe
not
the
so
same,
much.
yeah.
He's going to
Likkrit
try it
maybe in
again,
trouble
though.
again. Chain CC keeps coming out. Likkrit now set to get dunked. Prey looking for a little bit more, and down goes to support one last time.
Okay, so he's just testing. Can't 1v5, can't 1v3. We'll see if he 1v2s.
Can he 1v1 GorillA? I'm not even sure on that. So I think that's like a common mistake when you play support. You kind of just want to run around the river and get vision, but they should really know, like Caitlyn already pushed in the wave before the Lucian. The Lucian was just catching the wave under the turret. They're trying to make a play, and even though the jungler and the support are together, the other team is doing the same thing, and they also have their AD carry. So when it comes to getting vision, it's got to be an entire team effort. You have to communicate well on where the enemy could be as well.
And honestly, it feels like GorillA has a very good read on how Likkrit likes to play, because Rox, I mean, GorillA set up for that greedy Likkrit roam. He was set up there already. Now the team was there on the top side as well, and it seems like they're one of the only teams so far who's been able to punish Likkrit for roaming so aggressively without the support of his team.
And we've talked about, the itemization for Taric, which is coming through right now, but if you look across the other side, why GorillA has such a good read and why he seems to be on the right place, right time, is he's going the Mata build. He's got the Ruby Sightstone, he's got his Mobies laced up and ready to go. It's a freaking race car all over this map, and he's going to continuously get the inside track as Albus Nox try to make these rotations. And simply put, Rox just have superior vision control and information across the map right now, which is why they continuously are finding these picks.
I think if you're like most people would consider Rox a stronger team, and if you really think that you're also a stronger team as well, you would be playing the style where you just control vision slowly and like try to choke out the enemy team through like a very calm and calculated fashion. I think other teams, when they play against ANX, that's what they want to do, but then ended up doing the opposite of that. So it's good to see that Rox are taking it step by step, even though ANX are still in the lead. And you really have to just give credit to all of their players for competing at the world level like this.
Very solid across the board. Of course, you can see ANX, while they may be down in vision normally, are putting up an okay amount of wards, but when we look at the position, you can see all of this vision has been very defensive, aside from that single pink ward, spotting out Peanut on the bottom side. ANX, despite the lead, kind of playing like they're on the back foot.
Well, they have to, play defensively, kind of turn these into farm lanes, and where that gets scary is you have Prey. So Prey sitting on his, we call this, the Stixay tower pushing build that you're itemizing into the attack speed as well as the flat AD. Like, you're all about pushing the towers right now or just farming sideways.
Oh, maybe
Speaking
all about
of sideways.
down. Exhaust goes down.
They should really just commit. Oh, very nice catch.
Prey, why? I was just about to compliment you, and you're like, nah, let's go.
You should never talk about the players, because then they'll do something bad as soon as you finish making your point.
Seagate, welcome to the caster curse.
Unfortunate place to be. We found out what wins, and right now it's Yomu's Ghostblade. Kira trying to get this kill on Akuro. GorillA there to back him up. But
the larger point was supposed to be, because Anix are playing kind of farm defensive, especially with their vision, that it's good for Prey because he gets to sit back and look towards that Caitlyn power spike, although GorillA's going in.
Stejos potentially in trouble. Flash is out. Kira trying to get a little bit more. Spear's going to connect with one of the little raptorlings there. Not going to be
here
what
comes
they
Likkrit.
want. resisting the temptation to go any further on the side of ANX, but they've already gotten one tower.
Again, it's just about the inside track. They can now move in collectively, lay down their triangle vision over Rox's red side jungle, and start getting chip damage at this top inner turret.
Looks like they maybe set to take up the whole thing. GorillA trying to make a way in, but he's taking so much poke damage. He does have the ult.
They do save the tower. I don't think they're going to end up fighting over this. I think if I were NAX, I would just end up resetting right now. One thing you might notice from just how Likkrit is playing, since he went for no Ruby Sightstone early, after he got the kill on Caitlyn, I don't think he had enough wards to just litter them through the enemy jungle. This is like one of the weaknesses of just going straight for Aegis. I think as an item, Ruby Sightstone is pretty overpowered for support. It's just cheap, gives you wards, basically everything you want. And he's just going to end up, after he made a play, he couldn't get any vision afterwards. So it's like, it was good that he killed Prey there, but nothing was come of that after.
Miracle sidestepping there on the stun from Syndra. Vlad looking for the flank. GorillA ready to disengage, but overall, GorillA very proactive to make the moves, but just was not fast enough on the top side. And despite you know, ANX making some mistakes, their aggressive play is still paying off for them.
Although at this point in the game, it's really just kind of about resetting, spinning the gold, resetting your waves, and trying to move your vision again. So kind of the most contestable objectives, or the most important objectives coming up. You do have the Cloud Drake that's spawning in 10 seconds. It's not a super important Drake to fight over, you know, not something like the Mountain, like the Infernal. What I think is actually more important is the red buff spawning for Peanut, although Albus Nox don't actually have any of their triangle vision. Like Gate said, you know, the fact that he didn't have that Ruby Sightstone meant that when they made that pick or they got the inside track, they couldn't place vision down there. So we'll see if they contest it after Cloud Drake falls.
It looks like they're going to get the Cloud Drake because I think they ended up backing after they made that play right before, or way before Rox got to, so they're going to just get a freebie on the Dragon.
Interesting. Likkrit now getting aggressive.
They want the wave.
Backing off. Now I want to get one of our Twitter questions in real quick here. Alex Sullivan asks, how do you time roams to place wards as well as determine their positions on the map? This seems like a particular poignant question given the way that these teams have been playing.
Timing roams is kind of tricky. Generally, you don't want to sacrifice too much just to move around the map. So the best time really to do it is if you're in a good spot in your lane and you're going to go home on a good time for your items. So at that point, you should link up with your jungler with your Sightstone and try your best to get as much deep vision as possible to set up like more plays in the future.
And dissecting kind of some of Gate's language, when he says like a good place in your lane, that's why we say it's so important right now at the competitive level to get control of the creep wave and shove someone under. Because if they have a bunch of creeps in front of them, they have to farm them. So that's a pressure point where they're held down, they cannot move, and you get that opportunity that you can walk up into Try, you can walk up into River.
This happens with more than just support too. Like sometimes on P1 we like to refer like top lane, it's like a secondary support. They usually end up with a bunch of free time too, and they can move around the map based on how they shove their lane.
Uh-oh, looks like it could be disaster here for Smurf on the top side, setting up for the pick.
Oh,
Does
nice
knock
ult.
back
I think he might still die. Caitlyn has a red buff.
If he can get her against the wall.
But Nidalee,
Oh,
Nidalee's
good
on the way.
positioning from Prey.
He backs up. Oh no, that's not what you want, Prey. Steos goes in, pop goes the 80 carry, my God, and now Peanut is set to fall. Albus Nox.
So the thing about Prey is he's walking so close to the Poppy because he doesn't want to put himself against the wall and give away the free stun. But because he's so close, it opens up her ability to just kind of turn and
they're right
get
on the
those
Baron.
auto attacks on her.
They're right on the Baron. This is the support-focused stream, but Albus Nox are going off. And
I think this is actually just Albus Nox Baron because they already killed their jungler. Yeah, it seems like Rocks are unwilling to contest. Wow, what a play. I think Prey, even though both his teammates got knocked away by the Poppy ult, as an AD carry, he just wanted to do as much damage as possible. So he ended up just staying on the Poppy, even though it was like an impossible situation for Poppy to get killed.
and it's so insane because I'm still
Okay, hold
stunned. Just please, say anything.
Okay, the top side of Albus Nox map is playing out of their mind right now. That's a gorgeous ultimate. We've talked at length that over the course of Worlds that Poppy has really come back into favor because Lee Sin is so strong. And Poppy acts as a beautiful counter to Lee Sin, and you saw exactly why right there. Again, Prey is walking so close to Poppy because he doesn't want to walk next to this wall and mean that Poppy just gets a turn into stun. But ultimately, that bites him in the ass because when everyone shows up, he's right there exactly in threat.
That was absolutely insane coming in from Albus Nox, and that was not the story of Likkrit. This is just everyone on Albus Nox playing so well.
I mean, ultimately, everyone's playing so well kind of except Likkrit. He's not playing poorly, but again, this is very much Stayhost, Kira, and Smurf having the time of their lives on the top side of the map. The snowball started in the mid lane, and it opened up PvP Stayhost to look top, to look mid, and to continue to put Peanut and Kuro down.
Looks like another fight is starting. Likkrit using the ultimate. They're going to pull back. TP comes in from Smurf in mid lane.
It's actually a really good play from GorillA to try to force that. Kira was posturing to try to take the mid-tier 1 by making them scared of his positioning, but GorillA got a knock-up on him, which forced Terracle and Vladul. And right now, if they fight again, I think Rox could definitely take a fight.
Definitely have to be aware of those ult cooldowns and timers, but Baron buff's still ticking.
So, Gabe, at this point in the game, when you're sieging, especially when you're a Taric, like, what is your primary focus right now? Are you trying to coordinate with your team for, you know, we can look for a dive here, like now?
There goes the stun.
This is kind of crazy because they just expended their Terracle. Oh, it's a good poppy ult, but I think it's going to end up just trading 1-for-1.
Yep, now set to fall. Is not dead yet.
Yeah, I think that play should have happened. Definitely should have had the same play, but they should have had their Vlad ulti and Taric ulti. This is just a matter of team coordination. They should know they're really strong with Baron and they can dive with their composition. But going into they cannot like be so aggressive to the point where they have to use their cooldowns defensively and end up trying it again with the Taric flash, but still with no ultis, it wasn't going to be a clean fight.
So you're saying that this is an issue of like cooldown management, cooldown coordination, the fact that they're not going in simultaneously with the Terracle, with the Vladimir.
Yeah. I think they're just getting too excited because they're beating Rox on the international stage. Maybe they're going to end up first, though. PvP stays. Oh, very good flash. That's just like a good play on his part, but yeah, he shouldn't be too far like this, because I think after that fight, his team's just going home. I think he just wanted the blue buff there. But yeah, he should be careful just spending time in the enemy jungle when your whole team's going home.
Okay, and from this point, if you are Likkrit and now your team is ahead, you know, Baron buff has been either picked off of some members or is going to fall off members. What do you think is the most key positioning for the pink wards that Albus Nox are sitting on right now? Like, where do you want to start setting up your vision?
Generally, you just want it as far as you could get them into the enemy jungler, or in the enemy jungle for whatever tower you're trying to take. For right now, I think A Miracle is going to set up the bot wave, and they're going to end up doing a turret push down there. And as for just like how they should play the rest of the game, they should actually just try the same thing they just did one more time. They're going to have their cooldowns this time. I think some people might still have Baron buff. I'm not too sure. But whatever comes of this, they should feel like content with how the game is right now. Like, they shouldn't rush it too much, but at the same time, their composition is mainly meant for diving. If they end up killing Kuro or Prey in their dive, it could easily just be game right away.
Absolutely have to feel content doing so well against a team that was favorited to win Worlds.
Oh my,
Peanut's
so
really aggressive.
Look how far he ended up from his tower.
And just look at the difference in levels between the junglers as well. Stayhost sitting at 16, Peanut only at 14. I think is a pretty accurate description of how this game has kind of snowballed out of control.
Absolutely, and of course, Rox just have to be happy it's not an Infernal Drake being ticked up here, just a second cloud here. Very nice.
I was going to say, like, most of their advantages are just from pure team play. There wasn't like, I know mid lane got a pretty sizable advantage through some early pressure, but I don't know, just the way ANX have been playing the map like as a whole, making plays around each other, it's really nice to see it, especially since they're taking on the Korea like #1 seed.
All right, well, while we're waiting for this setup, we have to wait on asking. We'll hold off on a Twitter question, although we do have a few coming, just because this could be the dive that we're talking about.
Yeah, what's going to happen here is you see Kira is flanking over to the side, so they either have the option where we can set up for the dive, we use the Taric ultimate aggressively, or we just slowly chip away at the tower over multiple waves. Kira, you can see him ducking back towards that mid lane. They're trying to create 2 pressure points of forcing the mid wave as well as the bot wave into the tower, and either they'll take the tower slowly by continuing to do damage, or they'll catch Rox as they cheat through all of this vision control that Albus, Nox, Luna have laid down and make a pick and then snowball that into an objective. The caveat there, though, is that Albus, Nox actually haven't done a great job clearing out the vision behind them. You can see a Rox Tiger's Ward actually sitting on that blue buff.
I think that also comes from like the range of their champions. Whether they're really good at diving, but when it comes to like just small fights and like clearing out like hard to get pinks, they're not so good at it. What they really should think about right now is like, I think best case scenario, someone stays bot and they end up forcing like the bot wave from like good wave position, or they should really just be focusing on the Baron coming up again in 1 minute, because that's gonna be the decider of who wins this game.
We'll have to wait for that setup as Albus Nox group mid lane, but I want to get into a Twitter question. Griffin asks, what has been the biggest surprise pick in the support meta this far at Worlds besides Likkrit's brand?
I think no one really expected, I know when we were having all of our conversations, you know, in the pre-Worlds boot camp, no one really expected the prevalence of Nami, especially so early on. We had her kind of down there, but to see her so early first rotated and so dominant within the support picks, I think caught a lot of people off guard.
I think I agree with that. Nami is like, I would say it's like a passive champion. It's hard to set up plays by yourself. And
He used much stronger language upstairs.
Yeah, I really dislike Nami in general for like playmaking, but it's really good if you have like something to set you up with. We've seen a lot of like Elise recently too in the jungle, and really I think that pairing is particularly strong. So it is surprising to see Nami, but it's also surprising to see, like, I thought going to this tournament something like Tahm Kench is actually the best support, but it seems like it hasn't been getting too much play. There's been some bans for it, but yeah, I think overall this support meta really changed based on how teams work in general. What a flash.
Hero wants to start the fight. GorillA does all. Likkrit hasn't used his yet, but may look to. Now throwing it down. Disengage from Peanut. Gives a smart choice. The flash in. The cleanup. Oh, PvP Steos. Going off, making things happen. Does lose a lot of health there in the exchange, but that might be the pick that they need to make things GorillA with a nice headbutt pull. We're keeping our eyes on the support and both
So
looking
healthy.
to make plays.
The
Smurf, knock up.
heals between Nidalee and Taric are keeping Albus Nox Luna so well topped off over the course of this fight. Like, they don't, I mean, Poppy's kind of their true tank, but they have a lot of superficial tankiness or false tanks within their healing on Vladimir, Nidalee, as well as Taric that is allowing them to continue these elongated pushes.
Kuro is down, and Albus Nox appear to be setting up around the Baron. Maybe this is the chance for Rocks to get back in, but this is not at all the game we expected, and
I don't think this was the tournament that anyone expected.
no, and we'll keep talking about it as the day continues, because this is an insane performance from Albus Nox regardless of the result, but interestingly, they've been so aggressive on the Barons, but with one member down, they don't decide to go for it here, tempering that aggression.
I think they really, I said it before, but they're really, they're trigger happy with their cooldowns right now. They know they can win the game if they get a good fight, but it's really important that they do a lot of things in sync with each other. You see like the Taric flash after the Vlad flashed over like the Alistar W. They should just, they should consider they know that if they kill the 80s and the mid right now, they could just push for the end. So I think they really just want to fight, but I really think they should just wait a little bit, set up the Baron vision one more time. I talked about it like a minute ago. The Baron's going to end the game, not just a one-team fight.
Okay, so when you say set up Baron vision, like what exactly does that entail? Like where exactly would you put that vision, and what is the most important vision to pay attention to?
And while we want to be excited about the Baron vision,
they're just gonna
Albus
start
Nox just don't care. So I want to come back to that question.
I know, we say that they've literally got 3 Rocks Tigers wards right in the back of the pit.
Oh, Kira.
This is as risky as it gets. They're relying on this Poppy ult.
Oh,
Yep.
will
has
Peanut
to
get
burn
it?
Flash.
I don't think they should keep hitting the Baron. Oh, it's going to be a steal.
Oh, they got it,
Yeah.
they got it. But is Albus Nox set up to win the fight?
It's going to just be Elise in death, but this is exactly why you need to set up the vision before you try the Baron. It's really not worth 50-50ing it, especially if you're ahead. This is going to end up just stalling the game.
And what kills me is that Syndra got the Baron of all people.
Nidalee has Smite. It looks like, well, it's been long enough. It could be the 15-second cooldown. We'll get a replay of that one momentarily. Look at exactly how that went down, but
Since we were talking about how to set up Baron before, they really should just get 3 wards in their jungle and then go slowly, like clear everything instead of just starting this right away.
Okay, so the reason why they're so confident to take a 50-50 here, Peanut actually just leveled up. Going into that pit and looking for the Smite contestation, he was level 15 to Nidalee's level 17. So while I do agree with Gate wholeheartedly that, you know, they should have just played the
Take it
vision
slow.
game because they wanted to fight anyway, they could have made picks. I understand kind of the aggressive maneuver there and kind of that, like you were saying, you know, they want to pull the trigger. They're trigger happy right now. They had the stronger Smite and they had the capability to win that Smite battle, but ultimately it was Syndra that got the last laugh.
well, and now as we look at Likkrit's stun coming in here, burning down a little bit of poke, let's talk about the vision setup around Elder Dragon, because this does appear to be where ANX want to be. Much better vision this time around. What do they have to be aware of? How do they set up if they want to get this Elder Dragon?
Right now, you see Rocks, they're in actually a better spot than NX right now because they can just push mid for free with their Baron. you're not gonna just go leave and do the Elder Drag while they're pushing all your mid towers. So at this time, they don't really have a choice. They can only defend mid. So if you're ANX right now, you have to be willing to fight for mid lane. But it's also important to get like good positioning for this, which is hard. So Rocks are just in a good spot right now.
And it's as Gate said, this Baron really much just means that the game is going to be paused or stalled out. Albus Nox just need to survive it and then try to reposition the waves. The scary thing though is that the longer this game goes, the more that gold advantage means less and less in terms of your items. And we talked about, you know, the Caitlyn Power Trough. She's definitely cleared that mark by now.
Yeah, this Caitlyn has so many items actually. To be honest, I think she's much stronger than Lucian right now, and she's gonna output so much damage in the team fights.
Scary place to be as Rocks clear out the wave, now head back to mid lane. Now, looking exactly at how these fights are going to unfold, who would you say is going to be more impactful in the coming fights? Is it going to be the Taric or the Alistar? Who has the edge as we move closer to the late game?
I think Alistar really just the only thing that matters for Alistar is how well he engages fights and how well he sets up his ADC for damage. For the Taric, it's relatively easy to play Taric at this time of the game. Once your team wants to go, like you hit that go button, everyone's fully committed to trying to kill their carry. So I would say right now Taric would be more impactful, but unless GorillA lands like a really, really nice combo.
I mean, it comes down to kind of like hedging your bets, but like you said, it really just comes down to kind of execution. Speaking a little bit more on the fact that GorillA doesn't need to protect his ADC because it is someone like Caitlyn. She's got so much control in front of her that he only needs to focus on that big pulverize. But again, if Likkrit and Kira can get synced up on a sick dive with a sick Taric ultimate.
I think they're really committed to this dragon. They don't have positioning over mid. This could end up being a fight, but if I were Rocks, this Elder Dragon's not gonna go down like at any time because it's just so tanky. Kira's in a good position.
Inhibitor has respawn. Kira wants the flank really bad.
They cannot burn this dragon.
They also need to take care of their wave bottom. So there's a wave pushing top for Rocks, which eventually someone will need to respond to, although they have a window where they can continue to, you know, circle around this Baron pit. But this is what I wanted to see. Lucian, a Miracle, peeking his head down here and getting another pressure point forced towards Rocks' base as we kind of like reset the map. And Rocks get inside track on mid.
Kira wants something. Isn't going to get anything, though. Peanut just backing off. He uses Flash and Ghost there.
That's such a heartbreaker. He used both summoners to try to start the fight, but it ended up being nothing. So I would be really happy if I were Rocks to see that right now.
Oh, they're being patient here, but ANX seem like they still want the fight. No Spear Connect.
They just need to be patient, though, because they're still dealing with their waves building in the side.
ANX, they're jumping the gun here, but they are getting mid control from this, but yeah, it's sad to see Kira using both summoners there. I think that's really, really important for the next team fight.
Interestingly, does have the Boots of Lucidity, so we'll get them back slightly faster. But now Rocks set up to take Dragon Control here, while the rest of the members of ANX are now on the top side, and with good vision control as well.
I feel like this is really what's going to punish Albus Nox. We haven't seen them take a game too phenomenally late, but you know, when the late game comes around, your vision is so much more important because the death timers are so much more punishing. So I'm actually really curious to see how we play around, you know, a 40, 45 minute plus game for Albus.
You see both teams right now realize the importance of controlling the mid lane. That's why they split the map in two, basically, the left and right side. They're both coming towards mid, but they're both unwilling to just straight run into each other. But Rocks, since they're on the right side, they can actually pressure the Elder Drag.
Just playing off. Nice
great
disengage.
Stun. Smurf was just going to destroy Kuro on that wall if he didn't hit that stun.
Scary place to be. Dancing the dance to death right now for both teams.
This was kind of aggressive by Smurf. He's going to end up taking a lot of damage here.
Careful, Kira from the side. No summoners.
Yeah, they need to clear out all the wards in the Dragon Pit right now and also control mid lane. That should be their 1 and 2 goals. But I think they're just not focusing exactly on the right thing. Earlier they weren't focusing on mid, but now they've got like a
That's unfortunate.
Well, away. There's the ultimate. A little bit of damage and vulnerability. ANX will just opt to back off here, but there's a turret down on the bottom side.
So they got very lucky right there. They burned a lot of key cooldowns, the Hourglass as well as the Taric ultimate, simply because Stejos, you know, was overextended or caught out. Kira getting together with that big wave bottom did manage to kind of salvage the situation. But I do agree with Gate that at this point, I feel like Albus Nox, you know, they're pushing their luck a little bit. They need to kind of fall back towards that Elder Drake and start playing the vision game. But that said, they haven't really played it at all during this tournament, and they've been taking these massive wins.
It's okay to take those risks, but you have to be comfortable knowing that you could very well lose the game off of it too. Looks like they're going to get the tower, and I don't think they could stay for inhib. If I were them, they should just peace out right away and set up for this Baron.
If there's anything we've learned, Gate, they're definitely not you, and they may just look to get aggressive here.
I just love how, like, razor's edge they are. They're like, we don't care, we're gonna go. Can we push it? They're like stealing bases.
These guys are crazy. They really need to pay all their attention to Baron right now. It's gonna come up soon. Rocks, I'm sure they're gonna try to set up for it now too, but I don't think Likkrit back anytime soon, so he should have no wards. That's kind of a bad situation to be in, because I think like a minute prior to the Baron, he should have already gone home and, you know, be thinking about the Baron before it came up.
I mean, has he had wards at all this entire game?
That's his job, so he really should.
Warding is just one half the duty. I want to hit a Twitter question here. With Taric, is it better to use that W on your front line or use it on your back line and to go fight as a tank in these team fights? So what are your thoughts on the W?
In this game, just use it on the Vlad, I think. But generally, it's more situational. You have to think about who could utilize it the best. Like, if you're getting Dove, of course, just use it on your AD carry or any carry and pop your ult to try to make more time for them. But this game particularly, if you just look at ANX's comp, it's all about going forward, flashing forward, trying to kill Kuro and prey. And if you can do that successfully, you can end the game off of it.
And see, it's not just about warding Frost. You got to have that team fight presence as well. And this brings us to a question from Jaden Smith.
What
Smith.
an excellent name.
Smith, not Smith. Keep it together. Do you think that Likkrit is the beginning of support appreciation? Many plays have been made by supports without recognition.
I mean, that said, I 100% agree. As a support player, I agree. There should be more appreciation for supports. But Mata was the MVP of the 2015 World Tournament, kind of setting that standard. I mean, everyone knows like the Mad Life play. So I think support appreciation has been around.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Actually, a lot of the game, I think it comes down to the support's hands. Like, they're the ones with the trigger fingers, and like, they actually dictate the pace of the game a lot. So I think, generally speaking, people look at the plays like, I think the best example is earlier in this tournament, everyone was praising Mata for his performance against TSM. I think definitely if you play some champions like Alistar, you'll definitely look good in the spotlight.
Well, I do agree that the supports, simply because they're typically on playmakers, they do set a certain tempo and pace of the game. I do think this meta is a bit more suited for junglers to shine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's also about, you know, that support getting together with that jungler and being that true terror.
You guys you have to make each other look good, basically.
Well, while the supports and junglers may be setting up, the top laner and mid laner were setting up for Elder Dragon, and it appears to be the Dancing Baron versus the Elder Drake. He just doesn't care. Rox got scared off, and ANX are just turning right back. I think they're going to get this one for free. Peanut is on the way down, 2k health, 3k health. The ward just to spot it, just to know what exactly they're dealing with.
And so this power buff really means that they have multiple options. Either they can try to look for the Baron and try to set up a fight as opposed to take the Baron, but I actually like this option more because it doesn't go back to that 50-50 smite of use this power and just siege and inhib. Then use that inhib and that pressure wave of the super creeps to take the Baron.
Yeah, I think going for the fight is the best idea when you have the Elder Drag. I'd like to see them make a fight near Baron without committing to the Baron, because that means
I agree.
In the end, they can just get both if they play the fights well, which they have been.
But the scary thing is like, would Albus Nox, you know, just take?
GorillA knocked out of the fight, mid inhibitor down. Waiting for top inhibitor.
Sieging is kind of hard because Caitlyn's range and Syndra's range as well. It's a little dicey, but I think they're just super confident in their team fight.
Do Rox have to fight here? I mean, they've already lost the inhibitor. It feels like this is pretty simple for ANX from this point forward. What are the options left to Rox, left to GorillA?
They have to steal this Baron. They have to get the Baron because the next one will just, the base will just get smothered then. This is what we were talking about and why it was such a great choice. Use the dragon power to siege the inhib, then use the pressure point of the super creep waves on the inhibs to take the Baron. This is a bit gun-ho. I wouldn't have immediately transferred because as Gate said, you know, I wish that they would just set up a fight as opposed to just burning the Baron. But here we go.
Here didn't get any spells off before that. I think
that damage.
Forward. Oh my god. They're starting to clean up.
Oh, Dave.
I'll pray.
Prey's doing a lot of damage in this
Peanut's trying to do something, but a Miracle's left untouched.
Just 2 Guardian Angels here.
Smeb left. What can they do? Poppycopter gets canceled.
This should be Baron for Rox. Yeah, I think they should. Kira was trying to zone his Vlad for a long time there, and he just ended up getting one shot.
This sounds so basic as we're actually looking at a miracle. I'm sure we're going to get a replay of that. But there's a ward. There's a ward sitting in that mid-brush where Caitlyn was standing, and yes, she was exhausted for a portion of it, but effectively Caitlyn was just stacking passive shot after passive shot, and because they didn't have vision in that, he was able to duck in and out of Fog of War and just completely abuse them. And again, we said that it was overzealous to look for the Baron immediately after taking the inhib. You got the inhibs. Wait until the super creeps are pushing in and try to make Rox choose between their base or the Baron. Don't just give them the free fight because you know they're going to take it because they have no other option. So here we go. All eyes on Prey. Again, there's no vision, and there he goes. He's just going to walk in and out of this brush. He gets exhausted, can't see him, steps out of it. Yeah,
I think without their Vlad, they really cannot make a good team fight. So it's really, it's kind of funny. You saw Kuro literally just one-shot the Vladimir just because he wasn't too careful. Like I said, all of this could just be fixed with proper warding. We see a stat here, 45 wards for Likkrit and 90 for GorillA with more than double the pink wards placed for him. Yeah, GorillA's doing everything, honestly.
Something that was really indicative of Samsung White back in 2014 when Mata did get that MVP for Worlds is that Mata used to average 80 wards a game, and it was really indicative of this style that Samsung White kind of created of skirmishing and picking up your vision and moving it around. So you would never place 80 wards in a game if you just kept lighting up the same areas to protect for vision. It's really when you hit that number through, okay, we made a pick over the bottom side, all of these wards are useless now because we're no longer playing here, let's pick it up, let's moving it to the top side, and moving your vision around objectives. So when you see big numbers, you know, like 90 wards placed, that's what it's indicative of objective control.
Yeah, I think Likkrit too, he's been this style he's playing, like the low vision style you could say. He doesn't even have like a slot for pink wards right now, and at this time of the game, like when you're controlling Baron on all of that, you really should definitely have 2 pinks in your inventory. So that's costing his team too, because maybe he could have set up a really good pink ward for the Vlad to come in safely.
Have to keep our eyes on this game, of course. GorillA, definitely that vision coming in handy, carrying that fight, as you mentioned, the Caitlyn free to kind of just abuse that team fight, but of course the pick as well going in on Kira is a great way to start. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if ANX win this, they are guaranteed to make it out of their group.
We will have a LCL team in the quarterfinals.
And the first team from any of the IWCQ tournaments to make it out of the group stage. Unprecedented.
They're still sieging up, but they really need one more Baron to end this game, even though they have 2 inhibitors. There's no way you can get past that line of Caitlyn traps and hit the tower. And at this point, if I'm ANX, I should really be worried because Prey is 6 items with no boots, and he's going to kill everyone in any team fight. And your goals as ANX are still the same as they were like 30 minutes ago. You really just have to kill their backline.
Smurf in trouble. Smurf looks like he's set to fall. All comes from Kira. Lucian's on the bottom side, though.
They have to try to burn down this tower as quickly as possible because they're sacrificing so much of their health and so many of their lives to do it.
Tower's down. Life traded for tower here. Who does that favor in the end?
If Rox get nothing from this but farm, then I think it's good for ANX. But we'll have to see in like the upcoming like 45 seconds that Smurf is dead.
I mean, we're coming into the point of this game where a single team fight will be the determining factor, and you have to say for Albus Nox, who had control of the game for about 80 to 90% of it, it's their game to lose right now.
At the same time, like I said before, Prey, you see that 2,000 crit on the creeps. Like he's getting to the point where he's doing much more damage than Lucian, and just in general, Rox have better range on their carries than ANX do. So if we're gonna see a successful team fight out of ANX, it'll be because Likkrit set up a good situation.
Catch Prey.
Yeah,
and that's what's really cool is now it comes down to execution. Can the disengage tools of the Alistar headbutt, the Smeb pillar, or the Syndra stun like reset? versus like the dive potential. I almost fell over. The dive potential of all of Albus Nox's team comp, like what will win out. And this is the part of League of Legends that I absolutely adore, because I love execution of team comps as opposed to just blatantly saying, you know, one is stronger than the other.
Yeah.
So I'm curious now as we move. Baron not on the table, Elder Dragon not on the table. Where for each of these supports do they need to place their vision? What is the most optical location without either of these objectives up?
You want to kind of put your wards in not obvious spots, like different from where you would usually place them. This ward in the mid lane is pretty important too, to just make sure they don't know that like only
Catch
3 of you are
TP.
here. Yeah, 3 of you are here or 4 of you are here instead of like your whole team.
And you always want to be sweeping as you move down this mid lane too, because again, we're at that point in the game whereas if Smurf gets a TP flank off and just delete someone, like they're donezo.
Smurf going in. Decent damage, stun on the Smeb. Steos waiting in the bush.
But this also means that wave manipulation and attention to side waves are so much more important. So, I mean, obviously we talk about the pressure that creep waves create, the fact that they can take objectives for free, but the biggest thing about minions and the most important thing is that passive vision and passive information come with them. So as your creep wave pushes further down the map, you can obviously see what's around there, and at 52 minutes in the game, when you can only place so many wards, you only have so many allotted spots to place vision, those creep waves pushing forward just means so much more for your map control, just because of what you can see.
Yeah, I think when it comes to side waves right now, both teams aren't going to let their counterparts like leave and clear the wave fast and set up a good wave. They got a decent amount of damage on Prey there. Actually, he was forced to pull a heal. And the Lucian is doing exactly what we just said. He's going to control this wave. It's going to end up pushing into Rox's base, and it's going to threaten the inhibitor, or hopefully it will. And then with that pressure, they should be able to control the Baron that's coming up in a minute.
Of course, it's both Baron and Elder Dragon fast on the way as Poppy goes down to clear out a wave of her own, but Rox are making a move down. Now, it looks like this game, I mean, it's no longer just about the supports, it's about what the team does as a unit. For Rox, I mean, what is the next step for them? Do they just have to play defensive with so many inhibitors open?
The most important, well, they have all of their inhibitors up right now. So I think that their #1 priority is to control the vision around Baron and mid lane right now. They have the range to control mid lane for sure. So right now it's just them, they have to be a little careful about getting engaged on.
Yeah, because their inhibs are back up, they don't have to worry about any of the super creep waves. So Rox are actually in a great spot right now, despite the fact that their base is technically in ruins, which is why I actually really like this maneuver of getting there early into the Baron pit and trying to set up a pick.
Yep.
Kuro throwing out the multiple balls on the Force of Will there, now setting up in the mid lane.
So something that's actually really important this late in the game is, again, we talk about that there's not many allotted spots for vision, is the blue trinket. So Albus Nox only have a single blue trinket. It's currently on cooldown, whereas Rox Tigers have 2. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but in kind of a Baron dance like this, it can really mean the difference between victory or defeat if you catch something out.
Yeah, I think the yellow trinket's really good in the mid game where you, like, more vision is just more helpful, but at this point the only 2 relevant trinkets are the red and the blue. It's just one's for checking, one's for taking care of vision. We see like a pretty big wave in the bot lane actually. I wonder if Rox are going to respond to this.
And a Zerat portal, you can see the little icon down there as well.
Oh, that's Likkrit's Zerat portal. He doesn't buy the wards, but he buys the Zerat portal for the push.
And Steos throwing down the poke, sees Prey once again get hit by decent damage, and
Might
ANX
lose
are
in
running
hit.
it up the mid lane.
Prey got chunked too much. I think someone should have been blocking for him.
And
they're going to get 2 hits.
This is why Albus Nox have been so successful at the tournament, is that they don't fall for these tricks. A Leicester team would have walked into a vision-controlled area by Rox and lost the game right there, but they call the bluff and they take 2 inhibs for free.
Now they look to re-engage. Likkrit getting aggressive onto
use this
Kuro.
This could be a really bad fight for ANX.
Gotta watch out. Prey is alive. Prey is healthy. He's doing decent damage. Kira trying to
Kira
poke
got
down.
so much back.
This fight's going very slow.
Oh, nice block on the engage from GorillA. Peanut gets blocked out as well.
Gorilla's gonna go
Beautiful
down
Poppy. Kira getting aggressive. Is this it? Is this the win that Albus Nox wants so badly? Will they be the first team to make it out of groups? We're going to have to wait.
They're going to go for the Baron right now.
Yeah, they just need to abuse the 4v5.
Make sure it doesn't get stolen this time too. I'm so nervous for them because I think it's definitely going to get stolen if they don't take their time.
Can you imagine being like your first time on the world stage, the first time that a wildcard region would ever exit groups, you're about to defeat Korea's #1 seed, and it literally comes down to a single Baron play at 56 minutes in?
They're starting the Baron
They're
actually.
starting it.
This is
Rocks are getting desperate.
There's no way they
Steos
can
on
go
the
for
way
this.
in. Smeb is in
Smeb's gonna
trouble. GA, Kuro, can he get the disengage? Does stun a few members.
Just
Traps go down.
Oh, that
Prey on the
damage from
backside, Prey on the
Prey.
backside. Steos in trouble.
To interrupt.
Oh, he gets
Steos
him.
was-
There's no jungler. Rocks, legends for team fighting. Can they pull this one out?
Oh my gosh, what a... I did not think that would go for one kill to Rocks for that, because Smeb was in such a weird position and he got well stunned. It just turns out like Prey's just too good at Caitlyn.
It does mean that they don't have their teleport now, whereas Smurf does have that cooldown. So the potential of kind of a backdoor is very real right now, although it is a Poppy, so she doesn't take things as quickly.
And they're starting the Elder Dragon, but there's already multiple members now down on the thing. Does he
should just
down
be
on
a
the
trade.
thing? The Baron.
They don't have their smite though.
But this is so much of a better trade, I feel, for Albus Nox, simply because you have the 2 inhibs down that you can just kind of smother, have that 6 man of the
Peanut's
creeps.
there. They're going for double or nothing. They want to
Unless
steal this
Peanut
one.
can get in there, which I think he can. There's no smite on it. ANX aside. They have to kill Peanut. Oh, it's gone.
Oh
my God, he
Baron
got it.
and Elder Dragon now. Albus Nox.
They're not gonna kill Peanut either?
Are you
Oh,
serious?
What an intense
57
game.
minutes into the game, the most powerful double buffs you can ever dream of in the hand of Rocks, but they've got 2 inhibitors down. And this game,
This is just a fundamental mistake, I think, because your jungler is dead. There's no way you can keep the enemy jungler from coming in. You cannot take the Baron. They're trying to like 50-50 it, but it's not a 50-50. It's like a 90-10 or something like that.
Are you serious?
League. What is this game? Is this even League of Legends anymore?
Okay, where's Smurf?
There's no Poppy ult as well. They cannot even kill Peanut before he
Didn't
has
get to
GA.
disengage him from the pit.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta say, smart kick. Kick Smurf back in the pit, frees up the jump in.
At this point, I actually think the game is over for ANX. There's just too much power on Rox's side. Unless they could just get some sick fight with their Poppy TP, I really don't think this game will go well for the duration of this
Much
game.
as I love looking at Likkrit and GorillA, I really just want a back screen on CLG right now. I want to see what their face looks like as Peanut comes in and steals the Baron.
God.
Oh, there's a disengage. Prey. Not gonna get knocked to the wall. Fight. Gonna start.
So
Kuro
okay
was
to
knocked
try.
out.
They didn't use too much cooldowns for that, so I think it's fine. I think Poppy ult is short cooldown this time.
Massive wave on the top side. We have to keep in mind. Wave building on the bottom side. Rocks.
Again, that TP is still available, and so, like you said, because the massive waves are building, Brox have to lose a lot of the time on their Dragon buff, on their Baron buff, because they need to go back and respect and clear out that vision.
This is such a tense
wow,
game right
wave.
now. Actually, their Elder Drake will expire soon because they had to deal with that wave. And there's a huge wave on the top side as well.
Wave on the top side building. I am losing composure here. This game is so intense. It literally comes down to a single decision. One mistake from any player could be the fate of this game. Luckily, the Runeans, the wave clear, going to be enough to turn that wave away. But now there's this rot portal.
And the spear. Maybe they can get some hits right now. Prey must go back. I think they're going to get it.
They're going to get 3 inhibitors
Just because of
down.
one spear. Oh my goodness.
That's it. That's the one moment. Peanut now looking for the engage.
It's excellent, too, because that means that the inhibs are... What's the word? I'm looking
Desynced.
for? Yeah, desynced in terms of when they'll come up and when they'll go down. So it means that Annex, again, have another pressure point that they can continue to play with. But I feel like this game is almost going to go for like a 3rd round of, we didn't get Baron the first 2 times, but the 3rd time.
3rd time's the charm, guys. I think there's no way. It's going to end up being a fight around Baron. It won't matter too much who gets it because, yeah, right now Rox's Baron buff, it's going to wear out before they get to do anything with it. ANX are actually, they're crazy for staying around and trying
Rocks
to
have
take
a
the mid.
rot portal of their own. The middle inhibitor responds, but there will be a few waves with double super creeps. I don't have a lot to say other than exactly what is happening on the screen. So anything you can say to fill the space before these people kill each other is welcome. This is insane.
Just standing here smiling. I'm sorry. What a world we live in. What timeline is this? This is season 2 all over again.
Oh god.
This game is actually crazy, but you guys, you have to like think back to this game. This game could have been over like 30 minutes ago if Likkrit just paid a little more attention to how to play the map with his
Meanwhile,
words.
the professional player's like, get it together, guys. Refocus the narrative. Back out.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right.
and
This
they're
is-
also pretty crazy for staying around and just like poking at Rocks, even though there's like not too much to do. It's like they're just putting their hand in like Rocks' mouth and expecting them not to bite back. Because this Caitlyn, I don't know, we've seen her damage every team fight. She can just like 2-shot the Nidalee, If they don't get a good fight off, like Gio just one-shot
Rox
everyone.
tries to get the flash in. Likkrit on the way. Is he going to use the ultimate? It looks like it. Kira's up. Smurf coming in. Who's he going to hit? He knocks him out of the fight. Prey! Is he going to go down?
Oh
He
my
makes
god,
it out.
he's still alive!
No!
Yes!
The
dead.
buckler smackdown for ANX. Are you kidding me? Are they going to take down the #1 Korean seed? They are now poised to. No AD carry, no problems. We are witnessing history for League of Legends, but Rocks aren't done yet. This is absolute insanity. The Cinder Stun comes across the team. America is still alive. It's not enough. Smeb, he's going off. The #1 player at the tournament. Can he save his team's dream? America will not die. Lee Sin is going down. GorillA is still up. He still has flash. There's a Poppy. He's still alive. Miracle! Why won't you die? It just keeps going. ANX!
Oh my god. This game is too crazy.
Oh my god!
I don't think they can end from that though, unless Lucian can lifesteal back.
30 seconds left on Prey. Kuro, can he get the miracle? He has the ultimate. Can he take him down? Smurf won't die. He burns the ult. The GA is still up.
He might still die from this.
Stun goes down.
Got the GA.
This should be
Should
a
be able to
death.
get the kill. Miracle's backing off. He's not
Here
going to
comes
take
Pillar.
the risk. He flashes. He looks for the disengage.
Poppy.
Isn't going to get it. Good stun. Kuro, unstoppable.
What an intense game. Look at the Nexus turret. It's got like 300 HP.
Oh my god. Okay, so we're gonna take a step about how all of that started. Prey survives for so long before he finally does go down to Smurf here, and it's two kind of back-to-back great
The
picks.
Buckler kills him.
The Captain America.
Just so good.
A Miracle lives for so long in this team fight, and look at his HP when he started this. He's half HP. I think they're really confident in like going for the end right now, but they have to know they traded carry for carry. That's a really good stun from Syndra too, and Kuro has a lot of items too.
Okay, I'll get your opinion on this, Kate. When I take a look at this last replay, the fact that they're fighting right in front of the Nexus Tower, it's literally sitting there at about just under half health. Do you at that point say, okay, we shouldn't have been fighting them here, we should have just tried to burn down the tower? Like, is it okay to trade maybe 1 or 2 members for that Nexus Tower to open up the Nexus? Or do you think that they did the correct thing by trying to fight it out?
I think if your whole team has Guardian Angel and you're able to make like so much time that they're like panicking to dish out damage, it's like definitely okay to do that. But at the same time, I think they're really panicking because they got hit by a 3-man Syndra stun. There's no way they're gonna put out enough damage to kill the tower, unless like the AD carry just dashes in and double hits it. But then he's like too concerned about his own positioning. So all in all, I think they should have made one of the decisions, whether to just completely fight and not hit the tower at all.
Oh god.
You
You haven't seen this. I have to say this every time we see it. This is the European Classic. This is the 80-minute Fnatic Origin game. This is the Penta ZZ Rot.
So what you do is you sell an item because you have so much gold because we're 64 minutes in the game. You buy a rot portal, you place it, and then you rebuy the item that you sold so you don't give up any of your battle stats or your full build to have the wave pressure of the rot portal. So as soon as teams have the gold, that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
Pushing down the mid wave, Baron buff backing them up. Every inhibitor is down except for top lane. The next step is clear for ANX, and Rocks are running out of options.
ANX should really just take this step by step. They have the Baron. Let's go top. Let's get that last inhibitor. And then let's let the creeps do all the work for the last turret and then make the fight as they're getting pressured by it.
Gate, tell me this. If you are GorillA, what is running through your head right now? How would you feel in this situation?
I have to make sure I see good opportunities. And this might be one right here.
They have to, they have to do something with it.
Knocked out of the fight. Prey potentially in trouble. Does so much damage.
Oh, he definitely should have saved Poppy out there. Definitely don't shoot it out.
Siege! Hit it! Smurf, hit it!
Top and hit. Let's go, guys.
Just hit the inhib!
This should be dead. This should be dead.
Prey.
Kick.
Peanut.
Okay.
Knocked into the wall, potentially in trouble, but Prey does so much damage. Smurf's caught up. Steos is there. Kira's running in to try to take Kuro out of the fight. He's on the side.
Vlad is ending the game.
Vlad is going to end the game. Rocks, this is the last fight. This is their last shot. Inhibitor is open.
They can at least get the inhib.
They break the inhibitor. The ZZ Rot portal is up.
Everyone hit the Nexus.
Everyone's going in. Kira's hitting the Nexus. Likkrit is going in for the stun. America is on the backside. They have to take the AD carry out. They don't get him quite yet.
Oh my God,
Miracle is
they're
still
not gonna be
alive.
able to.
They're continuing to do this. They're dishing out the damage. Kira is trying to kill Prey.
Likkrit
They
is
can't
still hitting the Nexus.
Likkrit is hitting the Nexus. Likkrit. Kira's back up. No, Kira's down.
Everyone's gonna die.
There's so many minions. Rocks, can they turn this around?
They
He's
have
got
to-
the ult. He's got the ult again.
He has to
He's
get into
immobile.
it.
He's immobile.
It's done.
Nexus. My God, Albus knocks Luna.
Oh my God.
They make it out of groups, and they burn through each and every member of the opposition to find that win. Ladies and gentlemen, that is single-handedly the greatest upset in the history of League of Legends.
Oh my God. How can you not be emotional right now if you're Albus Nox? See, they're just going over to shake their heads. They're not jumping up and down. This team is crazy, I'm telling you.
Greatest upset in the history of League of Legends. I have to say it again. This team, throw away the label of international wildcard. This team made the LCL and the CIS proud. They have taken down a team.
They've taken down North America, Europe, and Korea. China, you're next on the hit list because Albus Nox is coming for you.
Absolutely. And the question is no longer how they play in the remaining matches of the day. The question is how they will play in the quarterfinals at the 2016 World Championship. That coach doesn't even care. It's
He's
another day at the office.
Stone cold killer. He's like, we expected to win. What, you were surprised?
Maybe he's not happy with how his team played, but I don't even care. We beat Rocks, you know? I would be really happy.
That's the thing, though, that's actually really important to point out, is that they had the lead for so long, and they did play poorly around vision and objective setup, I think about 3 different times. Like, the fact that they gave Rocks Tigers so many free Eldritch Drakes, so many free Barons, is...
I mean,
is
okay,
the
look,
slight...
I'm on board with you being critical, but I want you also to think about this. At what point did we decide that this was the thing we're going to be critical of? That this is the international wildcard team
But that's the thing.
that is winning so hard, and we're like,
throw
oh,
away-
their Baron setup is bad. Like,
Throw away that word, because that's the thing. Now we have to hold them to when you beat the #1 seed from Korea, when you beat the #1 seed from Europe, and when you beat the #3 seed from and
Number 2 seed.
Excuse me, #2 and great MSI representatives from North America. You can no longer just fall back on we're the wild card team. It doesn't matter. Be happy for us. At this point now, we have to say Albus Nox. How do you clean up your play? How do you perform better? Because you set the bar so high. So tighten it up. Go the distance.
I think they're just too willing to take the risk. They really have to just dial it back a little bit. It's just a simple step-by-step. Let's get the vision out. Let's let them come. Let's make the fight on them because they don't see us. And their game could be 30 minutes shorter. So they really get that 1 point down. They're in the quarterfinals. They should really just look at the game like that, talk it out with their team, and I don't know, they're in the quarterfinals. That's insane.
I think you actually said it best when you were talking about how this team has no fear, how they are very trigger happy, how they have so much confidence in them. Because you look at the world stage and so many players will be playing in that moment and they'll say I know I can go for this play, but I don't want to be the guy that messes up this one play and everything snowballs. So they tend to play more conservatively. And it feels like Albus Nox aren't restrained by those fears at all. And we're truly seeing a team, not just on their comfort picks, but just in their comfort zone. This is what they were famous for in the IWCQ, their team fight, coordination, and ability. And it's so refreshing to see a team live up to exactly, not the expectations of, yes, of course they were going to beat Korea, but the expectations of this is how we play the game, and we're going to show that on an international stage. Versus you look at someone like G2, Trick's underperforming, Perks is having a bad, it's just kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to throw it away because we have had enough to say. But coming up, we're not done with Likkrit yet, although G2 maybe. We'll go back to bottom lane and focus on his matchup with Mithy. For now, let's toss it back to the mainstream for the analyst desk, breaking down this unfathomable Albus Nox Luna win.
Anything, they're able to isolate Prey and just delete it. Exactly, and this is what they were trying to do for so long, is get a flank onto Prey. Smurf, he missed a bunch of opportunities earlier because once you have the base wide open like that, it's so easy for the Poppy to have access to the backline when you're sieging. And
I just want to echo what the Fisher was saying. It was so hard to watch Smurf sometimes when he wasn't going for those flanks. You're like, come on, boy, get in those flanks, zone him up. But he gets the most absolutely crazy, bonkers Poppy Ws I've seen in this entire tournament. The amount of times he just completely outclassed Peanut. I think it's going to happen right here when Peanut is a hair away of killing a Miracle, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, this bloody combo comes out here, and he blocks the combo, he blocks the W's.
good.
It's so insane. This guy is so much fun to watch.
But that's what coordinated teamfights look like. And I mean, time and time again, this Albus Nox lineup just look like they're on exactly the same page. And when you can do that against a team like Rox, who just kept coming at them, credit to Rox,
Well,
that's incredibly impressive.
And that's the thing. You talk about stacking up against the Rox, Tigers, and team fighting, right? I mean, this is the squad that we're saying tournament favorites coming in. Part of the reason why that is because of how well they orchestrated team fights, and they get beat here.
Was also the fact that they had a lot of good early game advantages for themselves, but we've not been seeing that here. They're still 0-5 in their 5 games. So Rox Tigers, they are not playing like they did in the LCK. It's actually very uncharacteristic of them.
But if you look at Albus Nox, there was also plenty of mistakes in there, and I just don't want to focus on it. I just want to highlight the mistakes where Kira, for example, was wasting summers, but the biggest thing is it didn't affect them. Every new fight they win as if they were just Albus Nox Luna, the constant aggressionist team. They never tilted off any of their mistakes, even though they had plenty of reason to. And just a story from these guys, like they came from their own region. They barely play any games in their region. They have 14 regular season games, 8 games in playoffs. Then they went super close in the IWC qualifier against Leon Gaming, like 2 and 3. I think they made it out right there. They were not even supposed to even be at this tournament, many people would say, and then they smashed this group like this.
But this team continues to buck the trend. I mean, 2-3 in the LCL final. Then Red side had won every single game in the IWCQ. They get blue in the last game. It looked like it was all over, and they managed to scrape their way in. I mean, I just can't echo enough, like, you know, you see the Zonyas, you see the burnt summoner spells, and you see player cams, and you're like, oh, that's a moment. They're going to fall off the face of the earth, and it just never happened.
And they just mentally reset every time, and then more importantly, like, they had troubles getting scrims. Like maybe people have, like a lot of people have heard about this already, but like they couldn't even scrim teams because nobody deemed them worthy enough to be even worth some practice. Half of these guys were playing World of Warcraft while warming up for this tournament, and then they smashed this group. Like it is, like this is history we're witnessing.
Yeah.
These guys were not supposed to do this well.
Absolute history. I mean, we have our first team qualifying to the quarterfinals in this tournament, and it is one of our wildcard teams, and they are just destroying everybody left and right. I do want to take a look from our Acer replay here at the early game domination, the visitation mid by PvP Steos, where he made his mark.
And this is just communication. Wait for the spear. I'm going to flash to slow. It's going to be easy, and we're going to clean him up. Time and time again, this duo, we're just able to get it done.
And this was such a really good dive as well. Stayhouse off to the side, doesn't get stunned, gets bopped over and curved.
Yeah,
Let Kira take aggro first.
Quite a few players as well in this tournament, no worries. We're saying how it's really hard to hit skill shots against some of these players, and Steos was throwing the perfect spears, and it's really easy on this low ping to dodge spears, but he throws them slightly in front of enemies, so they all have to do a minor juke, and they still eat them. Like, it must be so satisfying to like consistently land skill shots against like the Korean overlords.
And what I love is watching the growth that they've actually gone through. Like, you think about their first matchup against Rox, it was Peanut going into the jungle, a little bit disrespect there on Stayhouse, then they turned it around and Rox was like, hold on, we have to actually respect these guys a lot. And then in this game, you actually saw Stayhouse go for early invades onto Peanut, not fearing him at all.
He was so close. There was a ward that barely spotted him, otherwise he would have level 2 red buff cheesed Peanut and just thrown up in the game right there.
And you want to talk about some more great in-game communication. Look no further than 26 minutes in. Up in the top lane, Rox Tigers looking to make a move on ANX, but Smurf here playing this so calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, he kites back, and you think this is going to be it. I mean, Prey gets not 1, but 2, but 3 traps.
Yeah, beautiful ulti is their mid-animation to it. The fact that he has the presence of mind to step over the trap, but here as a team, they call the turn. So many players would say, I got you, let's run. Another beautiful spear from Steos. They find Prey, and suddenly this fight is turned upside down, and guess what? It's another Baron for Albus Nox Luna.
And it doesn't stop there. I mean, this team also blind steals away an Elder Drake, another creative play that really got them the next opportunity at Baron. Time and time again, they're pushing creeps into the lane, disappearing into Fog of War. Their macro game is incredibly solid.
Exactly. When they were able to actually push up those lanes, they knew what they had to do and which lane they needed to rotate to in sequence. They weren't wasting a whole lot of time. The game did go on really long, but that's mostly because of the fact that there were a whole bunch of those mess-ups that, you know, happen for one person every now and then.
And it looks so easy sometimes when you look at the map, like, why don't they go mid, you know? Why not? Mid's wide open, why don't you just stop it? But having been in those situations, it's so incredibly hard to not only keep an overview and be able to play on the edge of dangers. Very often they were playing within combo range of GorillA on 3 different, like, at least one guy while they were pushing 3 different lanes. The fact that they have the presence of mind and the trust in their teammates that somebody will not get caught, have a Zonias, be able to flash out and can trade that pressure for an inhib, like, these guys function like a team. It's just so wonderful to watch.
Yeah, and a lot of Rocks, they rely on the playmaking of GorillA, but his Alistar was completely shut down by really well-timed flashes, and people also having that Poppy W come out from Smurf and stopping him is really good and stopped Rocks from actually turning a lot of fights.
Well, you just already began to touch on it there, but player of the game going to Smurf for the numerous Poppy Ws that saved things. So that replay we saw was basically a highlight for him, presence of mind to slow the game down.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he knows when he has to go in, but he also knows when he has to save his carries backside. And time again, this guy was able to do both in very quick situations. It's honestly really nice to see his decision-making in-game.
Right, now, of course, I know a lot of people would like to hear from a member of ANX right now as they did just qualify, but unfortunately, they have to play another game. So we're giving them the time to set up and gear up for one more game on the day. So, gentlemen, looking forward, though, I mean, this ANX squad is already into the quarterfinals. I mean, what, if anything, now you're tasked with taking down this squad? Who do you attack? How do you prepare against Albus Nox Luna?
I've lobbied for G2. I've said this is the time to turn it around. I give up. I don't even know anymore. Maybe just ban the Poppy.
I don't even mean for G2. I just mean knowing that they're in the quarterfinals, right? They have another best-of-5 series now against another team. How are you now approaching this best-of-5 against Albus Nox?
Yeah, I mean, you guess you have to have a look at the mid lane jungle synergy, and you know, especially if you've got a weaker mid lane, they're going to look to attack that. And I think it's more about like understanding what their strategy is, and then playing towards and a little bit more reactive.
In a best-of-5, I would open up with a brand ban, literally contest at least. Don't give it to Stales. Then take maybe one more comfort pick. I don't think the Bard is that much of an issue on Likkrit. I think people need to pivot from this triple support ban. Just take away the wild card in the definition of the word, not the team, in the brand pick, and then let him play whatever else. Like Tom Kench is still in a Tom Kench.
Final thoughts.
I think that you ban Poppy out or you take it away, because I think Poppy is kind of a crutch for a lot of top laners right now that may not be performing really, really well and have a lot of mistakes come out from them, but it gives them a small margin of error, and they're able to actually make those mistakes and still be effective in the game.
All right, first team to the quarterfinals, and it's Albus Nox Luna. G2 and Albus Nox going to square off for the final time here in San Francisco when we return in 3.5 minutes.
We're getting set for the fourth match of the day between Albus Nox Luna and Rocks Tigers. Here we go, mid. All of a sudden the action cues get in. Stay up there, that's first blood for ANX.
나이스 연계 잘했다 타릭풀 나이스 Она без самых
ANX just turned it on its head and Peanut slammed into the wall. ANX turned it up for the double. And Peanut, he's got no fun. Peanut get in, goes in for it again. Oh, Kuro got it. Kuro and Rocks, they keep the dream alive.
He's coming.
Peanut's looking for it. Smoke gonna try and keep him out. Peanut wants it, throws the needle, goes back in. Peanut looking for the steal. He does it one more time. Smurf gonna try and kick them out. He gets one. Oh my God, the Indian goes down. Peanut trying to count a miracle, but Brace dead. Oh my God, they did it.
ANX just took down the Rocks Tigers.
Dare to be different. Revel in the impossible. Introducing a little anarchy. Disrupting the natural order. Because a hero lies in all of us. Nothing is beyond your reach. Claim your victory and go forth to conquer new worlds.